So now we wrap up this lecture, and the last part has to do with summarizing social media. And so some tricks are you can go to small sites, they're cheaper. You use your social sites to build awareness, and you want shareable content. Viral marketing is about you getting amplification, and to get amplification is based on diffusion. And for diffusion, this is where influencers are really useful because they already have a network that you know how it'll diffuse, so you know what the structure is. And so this is where you want people to share. You want to accelerate the process. Again, look at the social map. Do you need to create extra nodes, for example, to make it more efficient? And so there is a metric for it called the viral coefficient. You can see how it's doing. What it comes down to, it's about click, am I going to share it, and will I share it? And so what are the number of steps involved? You have to think about what your process is and how does it tie in with your web page, and can you streamline the process? Again, can you increase ability? Ability affects behavior. And so here are the elements that you need to optimize. I think they pretty much speak for itself. One thing I will point out, though, is social proof. And that's if you notice on a lot of websites, they have testimony, or your pictures, for example, support what you're doing. People are smiling. I mean, you don't see any ASU ads with people with their head on the table grabbing their hair, if they still have hair. So this just summarizes the elements of viral. And what you need to do is test, and hopefully you can get a critical mass and it'll all take off. Offline ads, the nice thing about TV is teetering, but it's not quite dead. The thing is with cable channels is you can get very targeted people. For example, ESPN versus AMC. Although AMC, yeah, sports people will probably like The Walking Dead. The big thing about offline is you have to go cheap. You have to make it traceable, and you have to run multiple tests. Again, this theme keeps coming up, getting tests. Content marketing is you're trying to get recognition. You have to create that quality content that's going to stand out. What is it that's going to attract people? And we live in the age of video, so video counts for a lot. Email versus social media. The big advantage of email is that it's direct, it's stable, and it's constant. A simple rule of thumb, the way you engage people. If you're about building brand, if you're about building a relationship, social media works better. If you're trying to get sales, if you want to do something directly, email works better. And as you can think about it, email feels a lot more professional. Here's some factoids about email. You can get email services up to $2,000 for free. Depending on your volume, an email can cost 3 cents or 1 cent. It has a good ROI. It's 40 times more effective than Facebook and Twitter for getting new users. The big tough thing about email, though, is how do you do it well? How do you stand out? And so it has to be attractive. You want to look at it. You need a large database. And so you know what all these other elements are regarding email. In terms of partnering with others, a joint venture is when two companies work together. Licensing is that you allow someone else to use your stuff. Distribution deals is you allow someone else to sell your product in your name, and supply partnerships. Again, that has to do with distribution. And so find who can potentially work with you, and learn about the other guy, understand him, because are his motivations aligned with yours? And this is the hard reality about especially corporations. They're sociopaths. They exist for one reason and one reason only, to grow and to financially grow. And is that a bad thing? No, it's just what it is. But what it comes down to is that it only works when it's aligned with the same goals that you have. And you can alter that. If you remember from one of the discussion elements, we talked about Oh no, it was off a quiz about carbon tax. And that's that business incentivizing them, they're not going to do anything. But on the other hand, if you make it painful for them, then they'll act, and it's financially. So in terms of just having salespeople know who it is, how you're going to channel, how much time is going to be required, and also the communication between you. And so here's an example. JBoss was a middleware software company. They sold for $350 million. They started out with freeware. And then they made the goofy mistake, because these guys weren't entrepreneurs, of not getting people's contacts. So what they did is they gave away documentation. They figured out what their best leads were. They used a software package, Eloqua, to monitor their traffic. And principal customers who represented a lot of people, those are the people they called personally. And so their conversion was much better, and the rest is history. But step by step, they built their funnel. And so you can use third parties to actually do your marketing for you. And they're going to promote you off their platform. It can be pricey. You take a risk in terms of search engine because you're not controlling the communication anymore. And the affiliates are also taking a risk on you. But what it comes down to is you have to compare that. Your cost of customer acquisition, is it cheaper for them to do it, or is it cheaper for you to do it and bring in the capability? That's what you have to think about. Platforms, again, software, or even a physical group where a lot of people come in and out. And so Airbnb got most of its sales from Craigslist. PayPal did something very interesting, and that's that they purchased goods from eBay, and then when they resold them, they told people you had to use PayPal. Yeah, kind of a circular thing. And naturally, referrals and viral effects work very well. And so here's an example, a bunch of examples, and you can go this through yourself. A new phone app game, a thermal nanoprobe, which is, a microchip type thing that can measure temperature surfaces, and the car bib. I don't know if I talked about the car bib in this class, but my wife, who is a marketer, liked to eat at that culinary pinnacle of an experience called Taco Bell. And the problem with Taco Bell is it's food while you're driving that you spill on yourself. So she always took a blanket or a towel or something to put over herself as a bib. And she said, wouldn't it be great if you just had a box of disposable bibs that you could put on when you want to eat in the car? So that's the car bib. Anyway, wrapping this lecture up, the thing where marketing becomes really kind of confusing today is that physical and digital are all mixed together. You can't separate one from the other anymore. And that's, for example, even Walmart has a website. I mean, one way or another, you're going to have to be digital. And so what we've seen is all these different channels for products. You have to test it. You can't just say, okay, we're going to do this, this, and this, and that's it. Why? Because you don't know what channel is going to be most optimal. But the key thing is when you do pick channels, make sure it matches up with what who your customers are, and what is it that they're looking for.